He announced to the world that, hey, I used to be Republican 30 years ago. Maybe I switch parties. Maybe I become a Republican. Maybe I become an independent. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back in with a new video, and I hope everyone is having a great day. I'm having a great day myself, and before I get into it, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. These are all great ways to support the daily content, but enough of the promotional stuff, let's get into it, because the Republican Party continues to get great news out of New York. Yeah, that's right. The state that's been Democrat since the mid-80s, it looks like it's finally, after years of Democrat control, is starting to turn the corner. Now, I want to be clear that I am not saying that New York is going to become a Republican state in 10 years. I'm not saying that's for sure going to happen. But the Republican Party is getting great news out of New York, and not just the state as a whole. No. The Republican Party is getting great news out of the city of New York. Yeah, we're not just talking about the state, which, it's still a long shot, but, Harris plus 12, it's not insane to say, hey, maybe in 10 years, the Republican Party could make the state closer, which it will. The state is shifting dramatically to the right. And you could argue that the only reason that it was Harris plus 12 is the upstate New York, it wasn't R plus 30. It was R plus 1, R plus 4, D plus 2. These areas, they should be blood red. And that's why it was much closer than it really should have been. But okay, New York State, that's one thing. But the city? Like, in 2024, it did have a dramatic shift to the right. It did. Queens was almost within 20. Trump almost got 30% in Brooklyn. He nearly cracked 20% in Manhattan. Look at Staten Island. He beat Harris by 31 points. I mean, it was a complete blowout. Look at the Bronx. I mean, Trump got almost 30% here. So, the city is trending Republican. I don't think anyone with a brain would say otherwise. Like, if you actually believe that, the city of New York is shifting Democrat, you're delusional. It's clear the city as a whole is shifting Republican. But still, it voted for Harris by, 30 points? Which, compared to 2020 and 2016, is much more Republican, but still, you're talking about a very Democrat area, even with these trends. But the crazy thing is, with how the mayor election is shaping up to be next year, there's a chance that, hey, if the stars align, everything goes right for the GOP, if things get very wacky, they could actually win. Now, I want to be clear that I'm not saying this is a prediction. I am not saying that, the Republicans are going to win New York City. I am not saying that as an official prediction. What I am saying, however, is you look at the current state of the race, and the Democrat Party, they might be in some trouble. Again, I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion, but the mayor election is shaping up to be a complete and total shit show. And everyone knows that Eric Adams is running for re-election, right? Eric Adams is the incumbent. Well, his approval's like, 30%? He is not like the New York City whatsoever. He has like a 30% approval, and it's so bad that he has a complete disaster of a primary heading his way. Look at this. You don't have just one person running. No. There's like 7 or 8 major candidates that have announced their candidacy for mayor. You got state senators, you got assembly members, you have, I think, some congressmen they're considering a run for mayor as well. So it's not just one person running. There's a bunch of Democrats running to possibly get rid of Eric Adams. But the thing is, there might be even more. Look at the list of publicly expressed interest. Andrew Cuomo, yes, that Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York that got thrown out, he's going to run for mayor. It says publicly expressed interest, but based on what we know, it sounds like Cuomo is going to run for mayor. Latina James, she may run as well. But fine, let's say Latina James, she doesn't run. Well, even then, Andrew Cuomo more than likely is going to run as well. So it's like, these are big names, and even if he doesn't, look at the amount of people running, and not just some random person. These are people that are assembly members, they are state senators, they are big names in New York politics. So it's going to be a disastrous primary no matter what. Even if Andrew Cuomo doesn't run, it's going to be a complete and total shit show. But if he does run, this primary becomes an even bigger disaster for the Democrat Party. It does. It becomes a complete mess. And what makes it worse for Dems is it's not just one round of voting. New York City, for whatever reason, thought, you know what? Let's do a ranked choice voting system for mayor. And this is what happened in 2021. Look at this. It was such a disaster. It lasted 8 rounds. We did not know the winner for like, what? I think it was like almost like 2 or 3 weeks. It may have been a month. We had no clue who the winner was for like a month. And at the last second, after all the votes were tabulated, Eric Adams barely won by 7,000 votes. That's it. There's a chance with all these people running, this same scenario could occur. And we're not even factoring in Andrew Cuomo, who is gonna run. I don't care what it says here. Based on everything we know, Andrew Cuomo more than likely is gonna run. So there's a scenario where the final round of voting could be between Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams, which would be absolutely hilarious if that happened, which I'm not saying for sure it's gonna happen, but if you're the Democrat Party and your 2 options are Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams, well, you're kind of in a shitty situation. Because it's not just, oh, if Cuomo wins, he's unpopular, but Eric Adams, if he wins, he's even more unpopular. No. There's a chance that whoever loses that primary, they could run as a third-party candidate. And this might be the X factor to this entire race. There's a chance if Cuomo or Eric Adams loses, they could run as a third-party candidate. Hell, Eric Adams, actually just today, he announced to the world that, hey, I used to be a Republican 30 years ago. Maybe I switch parties. Maybe I become a Republican. Maybe I become an independent. So he's open to the idea of, hey, if I lose the primary, what if I just run as a third-party candidate and say F you to my party? Which, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you have both Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams in the race, and let's just say both of them lose, more than likely, one of them, at least one of them, they're going to probably run as a third-party candidate, whether it's Adams or Cuomo. And Cuomo, he's been hinting at that for years, that, hey, maybe I switch parties. Same thing with what Eric Adams said here. So you start doing the math, it's like, Democrats have a very weak bench here, and they may end up with Cuomo or Eric Adams. But on top of that, there's a scenario where, oh yeah, 1 to 2, they run third party, and they may get a chunk of the vote. I'm not saying they get a majority of the vote or whatever, but they could get like a decent chunk of the vote in New York City. And then you start looking at the Republican side. And of the candidates that Republicans have, I would argue there's only one good one. Curtis Sliwa. He ran in 2021, and yes, he did lose by like 40 points, but you could argue that this was right before the trend in New York really started. Like, in 2021, there were signs of, hey, maybe Republicans are surging in New York, but most of us thought that, oh, it was just the mayor election, it wasn't the end of the world. Plus, it was against Eric Adams, who at the time was seen as the blue dog Dem, the moderate Democrat. He was going to bring order to the city. That's what people thought of Eric Adams. But in the last 4 years, it's become clear that, no, he's incompetent, he does not know what he's doing, and in recent years, the state of New York, especially the city, has been trending dramatically Republican. So, Curtis Sliwa, I think, ran a good campaign, just, it was right before the Republican surge happened. And in 2024, Trump got like 30% of the vote in the city. Now, does that mean that Sliwa's gonna get 40%? No. But you start doing the math, it's like, if Sliwa does crack 35, 36%, or even 40%, and whoever the Democrat is, if they underperform because of Eric Adams or Cuomo running, well, the idea of a Republican winning here is not as insane. That doesn't mean the Republicans get a majority. It just means, oh, if everything falls to shit to Dems with Eric Adams or Cuomo running as a independent, well, there's a chance that the Republican could actually win. Like, I know it sounds absolutely crazy, like, the city of New York, one of the most Democrat cities in America that hasn't voted Republican at the presidential level in decades. It did vote for Rudy Giuliani, but outside of that, it's been a Democrat stronghold for decades. It sounds crazy, I know, but the way this race is shaping up and what the trends are looking like in New York, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but it's not as crazy as it once seemed that, hey, maybe if there's a third-party candidate from Cuomo or Adams or some progressive, which is possible, well, it could be enough for them to win, especially if they're going against a very unpopular candidate. Now, for them to win New York City, you gotta get dictator margins out of Staten Island. You gotta flip Queens. You gotta do way better in Brooklyn, Manhattan, the Bronx. You cannot get killed by 400,000 votes in Manhattan. You just can't. You have to find a way to run it up in Staten Island, run it up in Queens, and probably flip one more like Brooklyn. You have to find a way to do very good in Brooklyn and the Bronx. That's the only way you have any pathway to winning. But with the trends in New York in recent years, it sounds crazy, but it's actually possible. It sounds very crazy, I know, but the more I look at this, the less crazy it seems that, hey, maybe the Republican Party, they're onto something here. Maybe they invest a bunch of money here, and the trends continue, and the Democrats have this complete shit show of a primary, which, I mean, it looks like that's what's going to happen here. Well, Republicans could actually pull off the upset. It's still a long shot, but we'll see what happens. It's a very bizarre primary, but if Democrats really end up with a 2021-like scenario, but you have Cuomo and Eric Adams, and they're saying stuff like this, well, if you're the Democrat Party, you start to sweat a little bit. You start getting a bit worried that, hey, we could be in trouble here. We probably are going to win, but it could be way too close for comfort. Maybe we have to invest a bunch of money into New York City, not into something more worthwhile like, I don't know, New Jersey, let's see, Virginia maybe? But no, we have to invest money into New York City. Just imagine saying that 5 years ago, that, oh yeah, Democrats did such a shit job that the city of New York, if the primary's as disastrous as it looks like it's going to be, Republicans could actually win. Which I still can't get over, but with what's happening in New York City, whether it's the trends, whether it's the Democrat primary, it could very well happen. And if the Republican Party, if they continue to build up this get-out-the-vote operation for midterms and off-year elections, maybe a bunch of Democrats, they just sit at home, and if Republicans get their people out to vote, it could be just enough, like barely, but just enough for them to win. If there is like an Eric Adams type running as a third-party candidate, as an FU to Dems, which that's what it sounds like. It sounds like if they lose a primary, one of those two could possibly say, F you, I'm going to run as an independent to screw you over because I lost this primary, so you know what? I'm taking you down with me. You want to take me down? Fine. You're going to end up with Curtis Sliwa or whoever as the mayor of New York City, which I still can't get over that. I just can't get over the fact that the trends in New York look so bad for Dems, especially in the city of New York, that if the stars align, it's not just, oh, we're gonna have a closer than expected race. No, if the stars align, you could just see a Republican win. It's unlikely, I know, but it's looking more and more plausible as we get closer to the election. Still a long shot, but the next year or so will tell us a lot about the city of New York. Was 2024 a fluke? Was 2022 a fluke? Will 2025 be an indicator of, hey, maybe the trends accelerate even more, and Republicans pull it off because Democrats have no clue what the hell they're doing? It's entirely possible. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.